Hello everyone, this is Middle Nuts, and today we'll be continuing our beginner-friendly Road to SCP video series. Today we'll be looking at another hack-the-box machine, that is Blocky. Blocky is based on Linux and the difficulty is easy. And the reason why we are doing Blocky is because there have been few boxes which are recently updated in the TJ null at netsec focus list. So this is the list which is currently updated, and there are few boxes added over here, so I'm just trying to cover up a block here as well because the difficulty is easy. So let's just get started. So first thing what I always do is I run an auto recon scan, and if you guys don't know what auto recon is an enumeration tool, and I myself use it among in all the scenarios and all the boxes I use it myself. So first what it will do, like, it will do an nmap scan at first, and it will do additional scans on based on the nmap scan results. So it's going to check if 445 port is open, it's going to do additional scans on them. So that's why I use auto recon, and 95% of the time it actually works really well, but sometimes you have to manually enumerate things. So I'll be running it as root, so that's why I have to give it sudo because I need to run the UDP scan over here. I'll be running this file as Python 3, and I'll be giving the target IP address, that is 10.10.10.37 in the case of Blocky, and I'll be giving the O switch where I want to save the entire scan results. So this is what the directory I'll give. So you can give obviously any directory you all want. And I did already execute the scan because it takes some time, so let's just look at the scan results. So first thing what I always do is I look at full TCP nmap scan, and we see that we have multiple ports open over here, that is 21 FTP, then 22 that is SSH, 80 that is HTTP, and we have this port is closed over here, 8192, so forth. Okay, and we have like this 25565 Minecraft. Okay, so this port is open as well. So obviously we have FTP. So first thing what I did was try to check if FTP access is available. Also there is a auto recon scan which does FTP, and it shows like was anonymous access done or not. So let's just look at that. So we'll do FTP and 10.10.10.37 and just type anonymous password, just hit enter, and it says incorrect login, so we cannot actually log in that anonymously. Otherwise in the scan result as well, it shows anonymous login allowed. Okay, so that's why FTP is not useful as of now. And we have like port 22 that is SSH, and we'll just leave it aside, probably don't want to brute force this. And also we have this port 80 open, right, HTTP. So obviously go over there next thing and see if we get something interesting. And meanwhile, we can obviously check out the other scan results, the Necto scan, HTTP nmap scan, and everything else over here. So we'll just look at the nmap scan. If we find any vulnerabilities, and it looks like there are multiple WP content things present over here, which looks like a WordPress site. So I just find for vulnerability. So it shows over here, this might be vulnerable to this. So it looks like only one search result showed up. So let's just leave this aside. And also we'll be looking at the full TCP scan again, and we see over here the HTTP generator is WordPress 4.8, so we get this information as well. So we have WordPress running over here. We look at the website and we see this Blocky craft under construction, and we see posts and like certain things over here. It says the login as well. So let's just look into it, and we have this username, email address. You can obviously try the default ones or something like that, okay, but it does not work. Okay, and you can probably put lost password, try to create ID, something. So this is the default login, and obviously we do not find anything much over here. You can try and manually enumerate thing, and we see if we just click this, welcome to Blocky Craft. So we have some post over here, and we have like some potential username. Okay, so obviously sometime it helps that whichever, if you want a username, probably if you find any username over here, so you can probably add that. So we have one username over here, but in WordPress we can actually have the WordPress scan done as well. So this particular web application, there's a tool that is called WP scan. So we'll just try to run that. Let's just hit enter to check for the usage. So we'll have to give the URL with the switch URL, and as well as enumerate things. So we'll be giving the e switch over here. Okay, so it will, if we give the e switch, it's going to enumerate all the things. Okay, like if we add this partition, additional switches over here, so it's gonna do one by one, and if by default all plugins config backups. Okay, so let's just try that. WP scan will give the URL first, that is HTTP 10.10.10.10.37. Also, we'll be giving the enumerate, enumerate all things. So let's just hit enter and see. It takes some time. It's like you have not updated the database for some time. Okay, but yes, probably updating database. Okay, so we have W scan running over here, WP scan running. So obviously next thing I just want to check out if there are additional directories over here of interest we can look at. So obviously I'll be running GoBuster scan as well. So before that I need the word list, right? So comment txt. So I always start with comment txt first because it's very small, like 4,000 words itself, and I'll be giving extensions like 6 or 7 extensions, and it increases in size like for 4,000 into 7, so it becomes like around 28. So that's why I use this word list, because it comes around 28,000, right? So still it is considerably small than the medium scan. So I use this first. If I do not get anything, then I use the medium scan. So if we just cat this comment txt, if you guys don't know what it is about, so we'll get multiple directories listed over here, right? WebDAV, WebDB, WebDist, WebData. So what does, if we run GoBuster scan, what GoBuster will do is, it will check for like web data over here, that it will ask the server, does the directory or file exist? Server will be like, no, it does not exist. And then if we give extensions, obviously it will be like, probably will give PHP or something. Server will be like, hey, does this, sorry, will GoBuster will ask the server, does this file exist? Server will be like, no, it does not exist. So it'll be like txt. So server will be like, hey, this file actually exists. So based on the response, it's gonna check for multiple data like WebDB and all these things, and it's gonna give us an output. So whichever directories are present, or whichever are present but we do not have access to it. Okay, so that's how GoBuster works, and you can do directory fuzzing over there. So I'll be giving the directory mode, and I'll be giving the use switch, and I'll be giving HTTP 10.10.10.37. Okay, and then I'll be giving the word list, yeah, and then the extensions, that is probably you can give PHP, since this is a Linux box, so probably you can give more things related to Linux like sh, and then later on pl, py, txt, and probably CGI, something like that. Okay, and you can give the output obviously like GoBurst, common scan, you can give any output. Okay, and you just run this, and the scan will particularly take some time. So I did already execute the scan, so let's just look at the scan result over here. Where's the scan? Okay, yeah, so this is the scan result, and we see that we get multiple interesting directories and pages present over here. Like index.php obviously will be the default one which is present, this blocky graph. So let's just try that. So this is the default page which we come up. Okay, so there's JavaScript as well, so I think we can go there. So it says you do not have permission. Okay, so we do not have permission for that. And this license txt, I'm not sure if there is anything over here. It's just licensing information, nothing very useful. And then there is my PHP Myadmin. Okay, so if we look into this, we come across another application over here which says PHP Myadmin, and it says welcome to PHP Myadmin, and it says enter username and password. Obviously you can check for default credentials and try to enter that, but that does not work over here. So that's why we'll just look into this, like where we get this credentials or something like that. But before that, since we came across this thing, let's just look if our WB scan is over. And if we look that, there are multiple things like information present. Obviously, you can go one by one and check out things. So the interesting thing over here is that we get a user's identified. Okay, and it says user's notch. So if you do not find it manually over here in this particular web application, this post or something, so you can, I think so. Yeah. So we had it over here, right? The user notch, because there was some post created. So we found a user that is notch in our Wordpress WP scan. So now we have a potential username that is notch. And potential I'm saying because sometimes the web application will have that user, but the target server would not have that user. Okay, so that's why we're just mentioning as a potential user, and we have Notch now, but obviously we need something additional as well, right? We can probably try to log in with Notch and add some password or something, but obviously the default ones or something like admin or something does not work. So what we'll do is we'll just look into it more. We'll just go back to our Go scan. So we are done with this WP scan. We can even save it. I think you have to give the output switch over here, and you can save it in the file so that you can refer it later as well. So it's good to save it always. Don't leave it hanging on the command line itself. So we have PHP Myadmin, then we have plugins as well. So let's just look at it. Let's just remove this entire thing. And it says over here queued file browser plugins files, and there are like two files present over here. Okay, so blocky core.jar and as well as a other file. So let's just look at this copy link location, and let's just wget it. Go to our root folder probably, and just use wget and the location of this file. So that's the easiest way to do it because it comes to our current working directory instead of like saving, downloading it. So this is much better. So we'll do wget again and we'll save the other file as well. So I think there has to be a space. Okay, so we have both these files present. Obviously you guys you all can go and enumerate that particular, can try. And before that, before entering into all these things, I even tried to search, like probably search something, and we get something like search equal to sign, right? So probably when I first did the box, I already tried for LFI and all these things over here, as well as in the other directories, like in this particular directory, I guess. So we come across few things which have like the equal to sign. Okay, I think so. I came across something, but yeah, I always try to check for LFI and all those things over there itself. So obviously, I try to enumerate multiple things, and then I come across something which is certain. Okay, so then we find this particular plugins folder, right? So we have like these two jar files over here. So if you open it, and we have this com my first plugin, and we have a blocky core class file. So we cannot open this with any normal reader or something. So we need a decompiler for that, Java decompiler. So it's a jar file, right? Both of these. So we need a decompiler for it. So what we'll do is just, you can probably use JDGUI. You can install that tool. Okay, I had probably installed it in Kali machine, but I obviously the best thing is if you don't want to install or anything, you can probably look it out online, Java decompiler online, or probably you can do a Google search like Java decompiler. That's it. So we come across this. Okay, yeah. So this is what I came across, JDGUI. You can install this thing on Linux, and also there is an online version which is, my bad, which is the Java decompiler online. So probably just try to browse and upload this particular code over here just to see what information we get. Upload and decompile. So we use the first one, and it says like waiting in queue and something. It's done. We go over here to our file blocky code jar. So my first plugin. We go to this blocky code.java file. So let's just open that, and we see over here it says decompile by, obviously that is what was added, and it says package, and we see that we have like a SQL host, we have SQL user, and we have SQL pass over here. So it looks like a password present over here. Let's just copy it, and passwords. So reason why I'm not adding this with the root itself, obviously there's root as well. So obviously this is a potential username. Obviously the box will have a root user, right? Even the web application may have root users. So we'll just add it over here. And the reason sometimes it happens, like some boxes, they'll have the root username, but the password will belong to some other user. Okay, something like that. So let's actually there are two ways to do this box. Okay, so first will obviously we'll do it the easy way, and the other way is like a bit tricky, but it's not very difficult. It's not difficult at all. It's just easy but a bit tricky. Okay, so we have this username and password. Okay, so what we'll do is, first thing, since we have this password over here, we can try logging into FTP, or we can just try logging into SSH. So probably just go SSH, and we have the root user, right? So we'll just look into that. 37. Sorry, we'll take this, copy it, paste it over here. It says permission denied, please try again, paste it again. Again it says the same thing, paste it again. It says the same thing. So obviously that password did not work. So now we have a potential username, right? We have the second username over here. So let's just try that again, and with the user notch. And we paste the password, and we see that we obviously have SSH access over here. So that means we, the password belong to notch user. Okay, so we have a user flag over here, and we can obviously very well read it, right? So next thing, obviously I check, like, the OS information, kernel information. So we have I do uname over here. We see that we have a 64-bit system as well. So after that, I just check for sudo else. So this is the first thing what I always check is uname and then sudo else. This is obviously my first go-to step, and then probably I'll just check for files present inside this particular folder, and then go back and check in the root directory if there are any intentional files and folders present over there. Then I run linenum or something like that. So it says like sudo else sudo password for notch, since we already had one password for notch, right? So most of the time SSH password and the inbox password are sometimes different. So I'll just enter the same thing, I'll paste it, and it is actually the right password because it gave us the sudo whole thing. So it says user notch may run the following commands on Blocky. That means all. That means we can run all the commands as or any user. Okay, so that means it's as good as having admin access. But we have to obviously give sudo, like. Okay, so obviously if we do just sudo mi, so we are going to get it as root. So we obviously are as root. So what we can do is we can just do sudo and bash, and will pop up as root. Okay, so this is what we got. We are already in the system as root. We can go to our root directory list, and we can obviously get this user txt file. So I'm not going to do that, but yeah, this was the easiest way to do this box. And I know this box is like really very easy, but the thing is, there's another way which I like, which would be helpful in properly getting used to this web application attacks or something like that, right? So what we'll do is we'll just exit the box for now. We'll not find any additional information. So let's just consider now this particular password. Obviously, it did not work for this notch user over here in SSH. It did not work, and we got the credential, right? We got the credential as root user, and this was the password, particular password. So what we can do is we saw login page, right? We saw two login pages over here. One, this wp login.php. So let's just try that if this particular thing works. So we'll just do root, and we'll obviously take this password as well and paste it. I pasted the entire password. It says invalid username password. So another thing which we found, we found was that PHP Myadmin. So it is already saying username root over here. Like by default, I think it was saying root. So we'll enter root. Obviously, I myself tried few SQL things as well, but that did not work, I guess. So let's just take this password again and paste it over here. Okay. So once we paste it, we come across this PHP Myadmin page, and it says like token. Obviously, here also we have like an equal to, wherever I see equal to, I try to use LFI, probably. So we get this PHP Myadmin pages, and we get like databases, SQL, and a lot of things over here, a lot of information. We even get the version number. So you have the version number over here. You can probably check for any exploits or vulnerabilities over here. So another thing, we can probably just go to information, not over here, I guess. We can go to databases present over here. So if we see, we have multiple databases present, like information schema, MySQL. You can, try to enumerate things over here, but I did not find anything useful. So we'll just go to WordPress over here, and it says like WordPress comments, links, options, and it even says users over here. Okay, WordPress. So in short, this is like an admin page for this WordPress users and everything. So this is what is going to manage things over here. So we look at WordPress users. We see that obviously there's one user which is Notch, okay, user login, because earlier also we saw over here, right? We got Notch over here also in our WP scan. So we have the user Notch present, and it says there is a particular password present over here. Obviously this is not the actual password, because let's just try that, because obviously this is in hash, so that is not the actual password. it's saved in hash because this is how passwords are actually saved, by the way, in hash format. So let's just do login and we can just try it over here just to show that it does not work. It will not work because that is actually the hash format. So now what we'll do is we have a username as well, potential username. Sometimes it is useful, like, if you have mail service open or something. So we have username and password over here. We'll just try to take this and hashes on. Okay, we have this particular hash format. So this hash, it looks a bit different because all hashes are different. It's not that one the hash format is the same. All hashes are different. So what we'll do is we'll just try to go to hashcat. Okay, hashcat examples. So we'll do a hashcat examples and we come across this hashcat page. This is hashcat is actually like John, okay, so it's gonna crack passwords for you. Okay, once we provide a word list. So it has a page over here which says, you can identify the what do you say, the hash type, okay, the hash name of that particular hash. So let's just look at what it starts from. It looks like this dollar sign P and dollar again. So let's just look into it and we see over here we have this hash mode 400 over here which says PHP pass, WordPress and Joomla. So that's MD5 over here. So this is what we are looking at, and over here also it says the same thing, 400 PHP, but this is the H one. So I obviously, to be safe, just go along with this particular thing, and we see that it says PHP pass, right? So since now over here we have this username present, but we can edit it because we belong to, we have like this admin privilege over here. So we can change the database details, like, and the backend. So this is basically like a backend thing. Like I can change the username, I can add multiple users as well, I guess. And so this is how it's gonna actually work. So if I enter this user pass over here, yeah, so if I try to get this particular user changed, okay, so let's just try to do that first. So what we'll do is we'll just try and particularly change this user pass, but I need to have the password in this hash form itself. If I write anything over here, like suppose password like probably muted and nuts itself, so that's not going to work because the application where the WP login application, once we give the password, it's going to convert it into hash, okay, which is predefined, and it's going to check over here. So it's going to convert it into this uh, PHP pass hash. So what we'll do is we'll just try to add a particular hash over here. So that's why I saved it as well, just for reference. And okay, so it actually says pass as nothing, but obviously we have to enter something over here. So what we'll do is we'll just try to get some PHP pass pass hash generator. So once I enter this, we come across this web page over here. I think you can do it in the command line itself using PHP, and I thought this would be like easier and better. So we have this particular thing over here. So we have to obviously enter a simple password, right? So probably just enter password like notch itself. Okay, same as the username, and the salt, I'll just leave it as it is round. I'll leave it as it is. I'm not gonna do anything. I don't want to touch any of these, and it says determined. So that means the result. So that is the hash format which we got. So even we even got the H1, but I don't think we'll be using that because we actually had the P right over here. So I'll just use that over here. So let's just take this, copy it and paste it. Okay, so we pasted over here, it says one row affected, and we this is the particular password, hash password which was present. So let's paste it over here itself. So I think it's the same count, both of these, but obviously the font is different, so that's why it's over here. Okay, so we can obviously try to enumerate things over here itself, but I don't think there's anything useful. So another thing is we come over here again, notch, and username and password, right? So we enter notch again over here and we try to log in. So it actually lets us log in, so that means this thing was successful over here. So obviously this is not the the intended method probably, but this is how you can actually do the box. So once we found the password, we looked at PHP Myadmin, but just because what if that SSH did not accept this particular password over here? Okay, and this is one good way to learn probably, and even I learned multiple things over here, like from this WordPress site, and how you can change multiple things. Okay, so we have multiple. You have a dashboard over here. So in short, you can customize your website. So how this WordPress thing would work is, so we have this Blocky Craft website, right? So in short, we can customize this website over here. Over here, we can add things like pictures or everything, and it will reflect back to this particular page over here. Okay, so if we look at the post, it says that this post is present. Welcome to Blocky Craft. So we can probably change something over here. Welcome. We can probably just try to add mutated nuts instead of everyone, just for now. Okay, and probably update it. Okay, and try to reload this page again, and it says welcome mutated nuts. So in short, we are able to change, sorry, whatever this web application has over here. So let's just look into it more. So obviously, first thing when I came over here, whenever we have access to some web application, you should just try to look at some upload functionality or something you can change. So you can modify and you can get system access, because you get web application access, that is not going to do it, right? You need to get system access. So I'll just obviously try to enumerate things over here. First thing which I looked at is this plugins thing, because earlier as well in few application we saw plugins vulnerabilities, right? So we have this two, Akismet anti-spam, and we have like hello dolly over here. Okay, so let's just look into this particular. I think I just checked this as well, but there were multiple plugin files present over here. So I did not know, like I did not try to edit this particular file, but what I did was I looked at this as well, hello dolly, and there is one hello PHP itself. So what I try to do is I try to execute a PHP reverse shell over here. Okay, so this is a PHP file, right? So in short, probably it's letting us edit this particular PHP file. So and later on probably we can activate it, so it will start running. So this is a plugin, right? So what we'll do is we'll just try to get a PHP file first. So obviously I already have this particular file, and you can get it from. I don't think we require this anymore. Pentest monkey PHP reverse shell. So you can get it from GitHub, and this is the PHP reverse shell, I guess. Yeah, this one. So you can get this particular file. This is the same file which is present. So I have the same particular file which is present over here. Only thing is, obviously you have to modify this particular IP address and everything, and obviously you do not require the comments, so probably just remove, because it will, the size will increase over there and it may get confusing as well. So obviously we just have to change our particular IP address over here. So we'll just change our IP and port, that is IP is 14.27, and we'll change the port as well to 4444. That's it. No, okay, sorry, 44s. Okay, that's it. We do not require anything else, and for the shell, probably it will add up all these things. So we do not require any additional details. Obviously, you can enter bash over here as well, but I just don't want to risk it. First thing I always start with sh, because sometimes bash gives issues. So I'll just leave it as such, and we need to copy paste this file. Okay, so what earlier, obviously first thing what I did was I tried to copy paste the entire file, and I replaced it with this. For some reason that plugin itself over here got disappeared. Okay, so this plugin which was present over here got disappeared, so I'm not sure what was that issue. So what I tried to do was I did not try to mess with this particular plugin. So below over here, after this add action, I try to copy paste my PHP file. Okay, so what we can do is we can just press Ctrl A first and then paste it. But the thing is, you need to remove this thing over here. Okay, so in short, when we look at this PHP file, we need to remove the starting PHP point, and as well as the end one. Okay, you need to remove this, because this particular plugin over here, if you do Control Z, so this particular plugin already has this thing, starting point as well as the ending point. This is where it says like PHP code is over, and this is where it says like PHP code has started. So in between you can add anything. So we just want to remove that. So obviously I'll just paste it again, and I'll remove this ending point from my PHP reverse shell. Obviously you don't have to modify anything. You want, you can remove the comments for size, and we go on top, we come across this, right, add action, so we remove this as well. So that's it. So we'll remove all these things. We see our IP address and port number is present, and we'll just update the file. Okay, so we update the file and it says file hello php, all these things present. Well, let's just go back to our plugin actually. So we have this plugin present over here. So next thing, obviously we have updated the php reverse shell. Let's just try nc nblp 4444. This is what I tried and I got lucky with it. So let's just see if we press activate, and we got our shell over here. Okay, so we do who am I, and we are www data. We are not even notch over here. Okay, so we'll just leave it aside for now. We got the shell. Obviously we can go to home directory, we can go to cd notch, but we cannot get the user text. Okay, so this is not, we need to escalate to notch over here, so we need to do that probably. So let's just exit for now, and obviously just leave that aside. But that was one way you could enter the box. Okay, other way is it, and it actually gives you some error that failed to demonize. It's quite to, I don't know, some error over here. So what we'll do is we'll just go back and we'll go to this. Okay, I think the box has been crashed, and after that it does not let us execute anything. So obviously we'll just look at another way how we can do this particular box, but we'll just try to I'll just reset the box and then I'll come back again. So I did reset the box again, and obviously I updated this php myadmin, the password hash over here, and we come to this wp login page, and we use notch as a username and password because we had generated the hash for that, right? So let's just log in, and we come across this dashboard. So obviously we saw that, we can add this plugin over here and try to activate it. Other thing is, obviously you can go to appearance, and we see that there are multiple things over here, so we can just use like the editor over here, and we have this few template files, okay, over here, which is present. So if we see, what was interesting for me was this index php, most likely because the index php is present over here, right? We saw in our Wordpress Scan as well, we have this index php file, right? Let's just try to copy it and try to paste it. So we come across this particular web page, that is the home web page. So the reason why this is interesting is because if we probably can enter any php code over here, right? So probably we can enter some php code because this is a php file. Let's just consider this archives. So this, we are entering a php code right over here. Even if I enter some code over here present, right, reverse shell, I need to execute it, right? How would I execute it? Obviously I'll have to probably load it as archives.php, something like that, and it says like URL not found on the server. So even if you try and edit this particular php file, which is archive.php, it's not going to be useful unless we can actually locate the location and try to execute it, or something like that plugin, right, where you had that activate thing. So it's not going to be useful. Obviously comments php as well is useful if you look into it, and probably you can just go behind and we have comments. Okay, it says comment rss, so it's something different. So yeah, in short, you have to find something which is going to be useful. So what first thing what obviously I came across was that index php file that is present over here. Okay, so let's just look into it, and we if you see little, probably we get that this particular index php file is the one which is present over here. Okay, so you can just try and look into it. Okay, so I don't know, there's very limited information over here. So, but we have this index PHP file, right? So what we'll try to do is, since I think these are the templates present over here, so let's just try and add this particular PHP script over, the malicious script over here, and see if we get something. So obviously you can add it in the start itself over here. Probably this, these are the comments, I guess. So just add a PHP script over here, which is usually how we like I usually had this PHP script, but obviously I don't have to add that starting and ending point. So I'll just add echo and probably echo system, and probably I'll add this particular parameter, request parameter, that is uh, request. Okay, in this bracket, probably add mutated nuts. You can enter anything over here like command or something. That's going to be a parameter which we are going to give value to, like, okay. So let's just close this. Sorry. So this is how the PHP script would be if this particular opening thing and end thing would not be possible, okay. So what we do not require all this thing now over here, so let's just remove it for now and remove this as well, okay, and we'll update our particular file, okay. Let's just do update file. We have this index PHP over here, right? So what we'll do is we'll just try to load up our index PHP file, and we come across this particular file over here, and what we'll try to do is we'll just load index PHP. We'll give the parameter that is which we had given, that was mutated nuts, and probably just enter who am I. So we got some, for a split second we got something over there. Obviously we load up to this particular entire page. So if we look into view page source, and probably we can search for the who am I parameter. I think it's on top here. So if we look over here, so that means we have successful remote command execution over here. Okay, so that means we got who am I and probably add something else, hostname, and we have Blocky over here. So we can add ifconfig as well, I guess, and we get the ifconfig. So in short, we have remote command execution, and then we can probably add a netcat, shell or something like that over here. So let's just do that. Just try to find. Let's just look at, we have netcat over here, which nc, probably enter this plus sign, it says bin nc. I'm not sure that if this particular netcat will upfrontly work or we'll have to use this another version of netcat, the below one. Okay, let's just try this. Obviously you have to enter plus over here for the blank spaces, or you can just take the request to burp suit and just URL encoded over there. So probably enter 14, 27 plus, okay. So I'll just start my netcat listen over here and see nvl p4444, okay, and let's just see if we get something, and we do not get a shell over here actually, so I don't think so. What I'll do, I'll just send this to burp. So I'll just quickly start, I'll just configure the proxy, because burp acts like a proxy, right? It's a proxy actually. So we're gonna intercept the request in burp from our Firefox. It's gonna go to burp, and from burp it will go to the target machine. So that's why I entered that. So let's just start it quickly and try to do it over there, because it's much easier. For till now it was not required, burp was not required, but for this particular thing we can do it from burp itself. So let's just put this off, and we'll try to load this particular page, now the view page source. Just try to do this and just get the request over here, right? HTTP request. Just add to scope, yes, and probably I think we'll just send it to repeater, okay. We have this file present over here, right? Let's just remove that, and we'll just try to add. Another thing is, when you add index.php, right, it gets replaced over here, because that's how it works. This is actually index in between, and it loads the file, okay. So now we do which Python, just to see if we have Python present. Control U for URL encoding, so that is how the plus comes, right, in blank spaces. So if you press send, so I don't think there's Python present in the box. Let's just see nc send. So there is nc present, but there is no Python present. So let's just try the other way, if we can use the other one over here. So there are multiple options, right? We have netcat, we have Ruby, we have PHP, Python, Perl, Bash. Probably you can try Bash itself. So let's just check this first. Netcat 10, 14, 27, 4444. Okay, and take this entire thing and URL encode it. Control U. We have this particular server listening. Oh, sorry, and netcat listening, and we get a shell over here. So if you do lsla and we obviously come to this www data. So if you do who am I, so we are in over here as www data. And other thing what we can do is obviously just go and obviously since we have two web applications right present over here, like two applications, one is like this wp application, like the WordPress application, and the other one is the PHP Myadmin. So what I'll do is whenever I come to a box, obviously I check for uname and sudo l. I don't think we can do anything over here with sudo l. It says nothing present. Okay, so we cannot check anything over uname. Maybe we saw it earlier, so it's going to be the same thing. You can run linenum as well. And then after that, obviously, I'll just look at any web application config file if there are any credentials present over there. So let's just look into it. WordPress config file. So it says wp-config.php is the file which we are looking for. So what we'll do is just quickly look into it, and since we come to this root directory over here of this page, the config file is present over here itself. Okay, so let's just copy it and paste it over here. Oops, I just had to cat it to see what are the contents present over here. Okay, there are few things over here. I don't think this is very useful. And if we see on top, we have this db user WordPress and we have the db password that is there. So we get a password over here. Obviously, we can have this password present, and db user was WordPress. So I don't think there's any user as such over here. Let's just cat the etc password and check if we have any db WordPress user. So I don't think that is present over here. Okay, so we have this particular password. Obviously, since we get the password, then we require notch access. So if you try to do su and try to do notch, okay, this should be run from terminal. We do not have Python over here. Which Python? So Python is not present. So let's just try to ssh notch at 10 10 10 37. So obviously we know the password for notch, and this is not the password for notch, but this is what obviously we're going to do. We see a password, we try it for notch, and then we try it for root as well. The reason we are trying it for notch is because since we just forget the first part which we did, we go to home directory. To get the user flag, we need either notch access or root access, okay, to get this particular file, because we do not belong, we belong to this third category, that is others, and we belong over here, we do not have anything. So it says permission denied. So what we'll do is we'll just go and check for root. Obviously I don't think it works for root as well. Let's just try it. So obviously whenever you get a password, just try it for all users, see if it happens, but it does not work over here as well. So it does not work, and probably we can just take. Okay, so the next thing is we have this PHP Myadmin page, right? We check for WordPress, we can check for PHP Myadmin config file. You can mention config file, or you can mention like password file location. So it actually tells us. So over here, if you see, it says like etc php myadmin config. Okay, so this is where the file is present. So let's just go into that and we'll just check out things over there. So let's just go to cd etc and cd php myadmin, and then we have this multiple configuration files. Or we have this particular configuration file which was present over there. If we do cat, and it's a huge configuration file, I guess. So we do not get anything useful over here. It says like something like secret or something, but there's nothing useful, or like a password or something. So let's just go into look into it, and we obviously have some DB thing present over here. Obviously database thing, it will most likely have something present. So let's just cat it. So if you see, we have this PHP myadmin and we have this particular DB password as well over here. So this password we can take and we can try it for notch over here. Obviously this is the same password, but just assuming that this password did not the earlier password which we found, okay, which we logged into this PHP page, this PHP page was different, and this was different. So this was one way to doing it, try to edit things or themes or like some page over here in WordPress, and then try to execute and get remote command execution over here, right? So this was how it was done. Obviously we get access over here, and we can just do sudo bash and we'll get root access. We'll enter the same password, now we get root access over here. So this was the box. It was very easy, but obviously there are two ways. Like the other way, you get to learn multiple things. So the thing is not about routing. It's like what are the different things you can route it, or what all things you can learn. Like basically, I do that myself. Like whenever I root the box at first, I try to find out multiple things. The way you can get access to the box, because you may, the other way, second way of routing that box, maybe the actual way of routing another box. Okay, so this would be helpful. So that's why it's never, you know it's not a bad thing to, what do you say, learn things. So that's why I do it myself. So I guess you guys should do it as well, just because, not because I do it, just because it's going to be helpful later on and for our exam as well. Okay, so this was a box. It was very easy. If you guys like the video, you can give a thumbs up and do subscribe for more upcoming videos. If you all have any queries, you all can write in the comments below. Okay, thank you.